I realized that life is too short to play small. But usually the moment we realize it, it's already too late. Luckily for me, I had this crazy life or death experience when I was 18 years old. So I had this feeling of my life being so close to being taken away from me and dying on that mountain to never be found. But yet I got this second chance in life, and I'm still, up to this day, I'm carrying this lesson with me, and I'm carrying this promise that I want to go for the extraordinary life. Welcome everyone to LifewithLiza podcast. This is the first episode that I'm recording in 2023, and for all the devoted listeners out there, thank you so much for being with me through the LifewithLiza 100 challenge, when I was recording an episode a day for the last 100 days of 2022, and it has been an insane experience. It really pushed my discipline to the next level when I realized that on so many days when it was already late and I didn't feel like recording an episode, I still had to do this because I had a challenge which was going on. And I loved how much I learned. I loved how much it pushed myself. And once again, it proved to me that the name of the game is skill acquisition, and the way to acquire skills in the fastest and in the most efficient way possible is just to do a lot of volume. So if you're trying to make a sale, or if you're trying to get better at creating posts on your social media, just doing a lot of it, not just doing it once a day, but doing it, for example, creating 10 posts a day, every day for 30 days, you would learn so much in such a short period of time that you will just outperform all competition. So I wanted to share this as the main takeaway of the LifewithLiza 100 challenge, and where we left off in 2022, and to thank you for being there. And in this year, I decided to take a small break from podcasting because I wanted to take a step back and reflect a bit more on what kind of content do I want to put out there, what is my intention, and to be very clear on that and provide even more value with every episode that I'm sharing with you. And you're probably wondering if I'll be releasing an episode today in 2023, and I decided not to. And I decided to release 2 episodes in a week, and ideally it would be one with the guest and one as a solo episode. And I have so many exciting guests already pre-planned for this year, so I'm super excited for that, for you to listen in. That was an update on the podcast situation, but I have also something so exciting planned for this episode, so stay tuned. Let's go. So in this episode, I wanted to talk to you about something that I learned from Jenna Kutcher. So she said that she decided to choose a word for her year, for her 2022, and for that word to define how she experiences the year, what kind of decisions she makes. And she decided to choose the word vibrant. The word vibrant spoke to her, and she said, and then she started making different life decisions. She decided to stop drinking alcohol. She decided to move her body in a more vibrant way, to spend her time with her kids in a different way, everything which would coincide to this word of vibrancy and living life in a vibrant way. And it was quite interesting because then with every decision that she was making, she could ask herself, would this correspond to the word vibrant? And then her whole life changed in just 1 year just because of the word that she decided to use, and for that word to help her to make the decisions. So I thought that's a genius idea, and that I also want to have a word for my 2023. And this word, I asked myself, what would be the word for 2023? What is a good one for me? Maybe you already guessed it. And in the meantime, before I announce my word, What is your word? Ask yourself this question if you have not yet asked yourself this question. My word is challenge. Let me explain. You might already know that I love challenges. I've been doing them last year, the year before that. What do I really mean by challenge, and why this word spoke to me so much? Because when I asked myself, how do I see this year? What do I want to achieve in this year? I realized that a lot for me this year is still based on me putting a lot of effort and pushing and still getting to this growth. I don't feel yet comfortable to relax. I'm not yet happy with the progress that I've made so far in my life. So I wanted to experience a lot of growth. But then growth always comes from the challenging times, from putting yourself out there, from pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. So then it was almost inevitable that the word that I had to choose would be challenge. And then I thought, if my word for this year is challenge, and I start putting myself into a lot of challenging situations, I will experience so much more failure, but also so much more growth. And I really want this year for me to be the year where I go outside of my comfort zone. So challenge is a great one. And let me already give a few examples how in this first 10 days of 2023, the word challenge started defining my reality. So let's start with the podcast guests. I started reaching out to the guests that are way more famous, that are having millions of followers on Instagram, and I felt so anxious to write to them because I had all these thoughts in my head. Who am I to write to them? Why would they even reply? Why would they want even to come to my podcast, etc.? And the moments I would hear those thoughts, I would remind myself of my word for the year, which would be challenge. Challenge, Liza. You're consciously deciding to go for the challenging path. There are already a subset of people who would love to be on your podcast, the so-called the guests that are easier to get. And also there is a subset of people who are harder to get, are more famous, they have more inquiries, and it will require a bit more of convincing, a better messaging, maybe more back and forth to actually convince them. Which one of those would be more challenging? Which one of those corresponds to the word that you're choosing for yourself for this year? And with that, of course, I started reaching out to more and more of the people who are harder to get to come onto your podcast. And it was fascinating because I also started getting people to say, no, I will not come on your podcast, which was also a very interesting experience, because then you realize that you're just not good enough yet. Some people would go on the podcast only when they're at a certain level, and it shines the light on all of the areas where you can improve. And that's why I think it's so crucial to put yourself in a situations where you see all of your setbacks, you see all of your imperfections, because then it's painful, because you're not perfect and you don't like to be reminded. We don't like usually to be reminded we're not perfect. But if we see it, if we take that in and we see, okay, now as I know that, how can I get better? Whereas if you spend a lot of time just doing what you already know you can do, you don't get this opportunity to get better so much faster, exponentially faster, because you don't have this light shining on everything that you're not good at yet. So people started saying no, and it was interesting. Also, just wanted to mention one more example related to this topic. I remembered when I was taking the dance classes, and typical me, I decided there are usually 3 rows that you can basically choose your position in the group dancing class, and I decided to always put myself in the first row in the middle. And that place is usually reserved for the best students, because the rows behind them can then replicate their movements, because they cannot really see the teacher that well. And I was horrendous at dancing in my first classes, but I always took that spot because I thought, if I'm there, I will learn the fastest, because it's the most uncomfortable spot to be in the whole classroom. If I chose the spot at the back on the third row, and I would feel way more relaxed, but then I would not grow as fast. Whereas putting myself in this comfortable situations which almost demand from me so much more that I'm capable of at this very moment, make me push myself so much harder so that I become more capable, and I become more capable faster. And all of us, you and me, we do have this potential. We do have it. We can become better at anything that we set our minds to. We just need to put ourselves in the uncomfortable enough situations that actually push us to get better, and actually stay in those uncomfortable situations. Because the moment I put myself in that first row in the middle, I wanted to escape. I wanted to leave the class, but I stayed. And I got so much better just in a few weeks, just because it was so embarrassing to be horrendous at this and then still keep in the spot which is reserved for the best students. So this is a side story, and that's why, same as in the dancing example, same here, reaching out to the people, to the guests that are beyond the size of my podcast at this stage is so interesting, because it puts me in this uncomfortable situation and it shows me where I can improve. Also, with the word challenge, it not only helped me with the podcast guest, but also with the workouts. For example, there are workouts that are quite easy for me to do at this stage, but if I wanted to do a challenging workout, what would it look like? And not necessarily, it will not necessarily be with heavier weights, for example. It could be maybe a movement that I'm not used to. Maybe it could be Pilates, a Pilates class, because Pilates is very challenging and it does exercise different groups of muscles, especially not usually the ones that you do workout with at home workouts, for example. So I really enjoy having this one word and looking through the word challenge and defining my 2023. I hope you start seeing the benefits of having a word that you'd like to base your decisions on, because it also very much simplifies the whole decision-making process. And also another thing that is very important for me at this stage, and I will be sharing it with you because you are the most devoted audience that I have, those ones listening to the podcast as well. So I've built my course, and I want to get the course to more and more people, because I want them to experience a transformation that they can experience only with the course. And it would also challenge me to actually do that, because I need to improve my marketing skills, the way I communicate my message and share it, and to actually convince people to actually get something that I've created. And that's also challenging me so much. So I feel like this word is very much aligned with what I see for myself in 2023, and I hope it will simplify the decision-making process, and it will also push me to achieve what I want to achieve. So think again about your word and let me know which word you decided to go for. Reach out to me either in YouTube comments or on my Instagram. Reach out to me. I really want to hear what is your word, and let's see in a few weeks and a few months how this word is helping us define our year. Also, something else that I really wanted to share with you in this episode is I also realized that one of my biggest fears is living an average life. Simple as that, living an average life. I don't want to live an average life. And it comes back from this realization that I had, and it's a funny story because I've been actually, I'm now in South Africa, and my first time to South Africa was back in 2017 as part of this university student trip. And we decided to go hike up the Table Mountain, and then I got lost on the Table Mountain. I took the wrong hiking route, and they say that approximately 100 people a year get lost on Table Mountain and are never found. I still need to verify this stats, but it's quite crazy. So in those moments when it was freezing cold and I was stuck there on the mountain, and I was looking back at my life because I was just 18 years old, and I was looking back in my life and I was thinking, it felt way too short. I have not done enough. I have not changed the world. I have not achieved my goals. Just it feels like to die at this point. It felt so early, and I thought to myself, okay, if I make it out of here alive, I need to make my life matter. I need to serve more people. I need to go for those big crazy goals. And the moment I made this promise to myself, I heard also the voices of the rescue team, and they found me and a friend of mine who were both lost on the mountain. And I realized that life is too short to play small. But usually the moment we realize it, it's already too late. Luckily for me, I had this crazy life or death experience when I was 18 years old. So I had this feeling of my life being so close to being taken away from me and dying on that mountain to never be found. But yet I got this second chance in life, and I'm still, up to this day, I'm carrying this lesson with me, and I'm carrying this promise that I want to go for the extraordinary life. And once again, creating that extraordinary life requires to challenge yourself. And that's why this word for this year is also so aligned with what I want my life to be about. And I'm almost getting emotional by sharing this story. I hope you did enjoy this episode. I hope it made you think what would be your life realizations if your life was to be taken away. Most likely you would be making some different decisions now. It's always interesting to hold that experience in mind and think about your day-to-day life in that light, and see if you're still happy with your life and what decisions you're making. So I hope you did enjoy this episode. I hope it has been a great beginning of 2023 for you, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. So much love to you guys. Thank you so much for listening in. It means the world to me. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like it, subscribe to this channel, and I see you in the next episode.